Welcome to the Unchecked Sports Pod, where we aren't verified public figures on social media, but we are obsessed sports fans with lots and lots of opinions. We are recording on Friday, March 28th from Denver, Colorado. My name is Jordan Redding, and I'm here with my co-host, Austin Jarvis. Austin, tell me what happened in the world of sports this week.
Well, man, we got some win streaks going. We got the Celtics winning 7 in a row. Got the Rockets winning 10 of their last 11.
True.
And I feel like we knew with the Celtics, like, this is kind of how they're going to be.
Yeah.
Like we talk about it every week about how they're just so well-rounded and too good.
I don't know if a completely healthy Boston team, I don't want to undercut any of the other contenders, but like it's tough. Like they are
really tough.
It's why last year we were all like, how did they afford to pay this starting five? Like, how is this possible? Because it is a very well put together team, and I don't know with the Celtics just reselling how long their window is, if they're going to keep, especially with some of the aprons and stuff, changing and fluctuating. Who knows if they stick with it? But this is a tough team, so I could see them winning 7 in a row. That is not a huge surprise to me,
right? Honestly, and then 12 of their last 13. I hate to see that they beat the Nuggets. I'm like, I know. Jokic
was that during? Yeah, was it when Joker was out?
I don't think so, because that was at the beginning of their stretch, and Jokic only missed the last 5. He came back against the Bucks. Did you see that assist?
Yeah. Oh, the what behind the head to Gordon? Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
crazy.
That was beautiful.
Yeah,
I was just watching him is just always amazes me. But
it is. Yeah, in this, I think in this instance, the Nuggets are what are they in the 4th spot? 3rd spot? Yeah, I think in the 4th now because the Rockets have moved past them. And is it Grizzlies?
I think it's the Lakers.
Lakers moved past them even with the loss.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I can pull up the standing. Because, I forgot. That was such a crazy game.
Man. It was the last, minute of it was nuts. Yeah.
12 seconds. I couldn't believe.
Oh, Nuggets are in 3rd.
They're 3rd, okay.
Yeah, and they have a two-game lead right now on the Lakers. So, okay, that's better for sure, but still.
Yeah, it's I kind of expected this from the Rockets. This is something we talked about last year. I thought they were going to make that playoff push.
Yeah.
And because they really started to click at the end. And teams that click at the end, if they don't make a playoff run, they always come out next year swinging. That's something that you always start to notice with teams that pick up at the end if they're on the younger end, I feel like, with the team.
Well, and it seems like it's the Grizzlies who have come down a little bit too. So now the Grizzlies are in 5th, the Rockets are in 2nd. And I think, the scary thing about the Rockets is like they're good now, but like their window seems like it's a 8-year window. With just like they'll have to start paying in 2 years they'll have to pay. Is it Amen Thompson or is it Asur? Who's there? It's Amen, I think.
It's Amen.
Yeah.
But isn't because they already extended Jalen Green.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So
and I think this is only Amen Thompson's 2nd year, so he'd still have 2 more years before, but at a certain point, you're gonna repay him. He's incredible.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
It was cool watching, and I know you don't love or you don't seem to dive into the behind the scenes stuff as much as I like to. Like, I love if there's a documentary that's behind the scenes about anything sport related. I like it. I've gotten you into Full Swing, and you said you liked it.
I love it. Yeah. I really like quarterbacks and receivers, like those ones.
Yeah, those ones were good. So there was there was one about when the Thompson twins were on a team together in the G League.
And the Ignite one, right?
Yeah, it's about them and then like them trying to like raise their NBA clout and all of that. And it's funny. Not funny, but it's
sorry, go ahead.
It might be on Prime, maybe Netflix. Okay. I'm not sure.
Beautiful. I'm like, those are both things that I have.
But I like watched that going into that draft. And I was like, oh, this is, have some guys that, if they land on a team that I like, I'll be very pumped about. But it's cool to see both of those guys, respectively, really earning that draft capital because I think they were like the 5th and 6th overall or something like that.
Yeah, they went back to back, and I think they were the first ever brothers to go back to back.
Asor was first to Detroit, and then Amen. Okay. Anyway, that is wild. But I do feel like the Rockets, they they have so much talent. They're kind of, and again, I'll loosely say this, but they do give me like 2009, 2010 Thunders vibes,
Yeah.
where it's like there are multiple guys on that team that could be an MVP later on down the line. Like, and they don't have the scoring of a Durant, but they definitely have a freak athlete in Amen Thompson. And I feel like they have a secondary to Joker for sure, but a very interesting Şengün, like very interesting big
I
guy.
love watching Sengun.
Yeah. Sengun or Şengün? Am I adding an H for no
Sengun.
reason? Dang.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. Um, but yeah, I think I don't know. It's cool to see if the Rockets I don't see them going to the finals, but it's good to see a young team like that starting to like make their presence felt.
Right. And with Van Vliet, I feel like it's nice that they have somewhat of a championship DNA, you would call it, because he won a championship with Toronto.
And that was the whole point in overpaying him. And I think they knew they overpaid him, but they were also like, guys, well, what is this window? Like,
yeah,
because I think he might have one more year on that contract, but it's before they have to pay Amen, or have they already paid Sengun?
I don't think so. I think he's in his third year, so they have to pay him next year
over the summer. And so yeah, I think when you have a young team, that's where you want a veteran. And I don't mean to always bring it back to the Miami Heat, but literally Udonis Haslem was a player that was not there to play minutes, was just there to be like a player coach. And I think it can help. Van Vliet is certainly more talented than Udonis Haslem. I'm not saying that, but just teaching guys the importance of being on time and taking it serious and stuff like that it can go a long way. So it's cool to see. Yeah, I think Celtics were expected. I don't know that that's a big surprise to anyone, right? That they're having a good season coming off of their championship.
I think our biggest surprise, at least to me, anyways, is the Kawhi and the Clippers and their little run.
Clippers, they've gone 8-2 in their last 10,
which is crazy because I thought
crazy.
Whenever you think of the Clippers, you're like, yeah, they probably went 2-8 in their last 10.
What? And it's always been so annoying because it's like with the amount of talent that they have, but Kawhi doesn't really play. I think there will be a 30 for 30 at some point that tells us what happened to Kawhi Leonard, like what his injury was, why after San Antonio, the rest.
Zaza.
Yeah.
With that Zaza Pachulia. I remember watching that live, and that really it killed me, I'll be honest. Like, it was so – I hate seeing dirty plays. Like, Deladova, I hated watching him.
I didn't consider the Zaza play dirty. And I don't think he tried to get his feet under Kawhi's. I don't think he tried to. I think they changed the rule because they realized that is a ramification of if you're playing up on someone and they're in the air. The video never, and obviously I'm someone that benefited from that, right? Kawhi going out helped the Heat win a championship.
Yeah.
Right? Was that the same? No, or was that 2015?
That was 2015.
Never mind. That didn't help us at all. We were already bad. Yeah, LeBron had left, but I don't ever remember seeing Zaza like put his foot like intentionally try. I don't know. But I'm glad
I saw a little bit of a little scoop, kind of just like, let's push it out a little bit.
Maybe.
Because if Kawhi stayed healthy that series, Warriors would not have won that series.
Yeah.
That would have been, honestly, the entire history of the NBA would have been changed because that was the year that the dynasty began. Yeah. That was like when everything started and, Curry's legit and those type of things. And it's still the Spurs era, we thought, but now they lose.
Do you think that the 76ers wish that they would have just paid Harden and then the Clippers could still have Paul George? Like, do you think they wish that? Because I feel like Harden has transitioned really. It's been a cool transition, I feel like, from ball-centric, like he's not passing that ball. He's going to shoot it. It's going to be a step-back three, but it's going to go in like over, 48% of the time. So it's worth him doing it. But I feel like from going from that to like being – and he's always been a good playmaker and has always had good vision. But, I mean, he is a really dynamic point guard that I think is like
He's
fun.
Been great for them, and it's been crazy. I keep – like I'll check on the stats, and I'm like, oh, my God. James Harden it's James Harden again. It's not this Philly James Harden that had 12 points every game and looked like he was 250 and couldn't run.
Well, and Philly's like, and we can talk about that in a second, but yeah, they're their own dumpster fire right now, which,
Oh yeah.
yeah, like, stop trusting the process, everyone. But I do feel like the Clippers, this is kind of where I feel like they should be. To me, they seem like a fifth or a sixth seed behind the major contenders. And like, I get that they've underperformed, but if Kawhi Leonard is still the Kawhi Leonard that I think people are hoping that he is, or
Yeah.
if he's 80% of that, I'm not sure. The guy who like almost single-handedly took Toronto, who had a good team. He had a good team around him, but like by changing one player, DeRozan for Kawhi, they won a championship. Like, it's pretty nuts. And so if he could get back to that, where he is scoring, he is a lockdown defender, and maybe those days are behind him. But it is a team in their prime that were fronted by James Harden and Kawhi would have been terrifying. That would have been a terrifying duo. Neither of them are in their prime, but again, sometimes 80% of a really good player, is better than 100% of like an okay guy, and so I don't know. I see them. Let me say this. I don't see the Clippers, and I guess let's look at the rest of their schedule, because I think that will help me determine my prediction. So they play the Nets today, then the Cavs, then the Magic, then the Pelicans, then the Mavericks twice, then the Spurs, then the Rockets, then the Kings, and the Warriors. I mean, I see them definitely having a winning record ending that out. I think Cavs and Warriors.
And Rockets even.
And Rockets, yeah, depending on if the Rockets have already, when you're at the end of the season, it's like if they've already secured the 2 spot, which they have a 2-game lead right now, they might be like, it's not worth it. But I don't know. I mean, I don't think that the Clippers will have home court for the playoffs. Let me say that. I think they'll be fifth seed or behind. And I think we're starting to see it shake out a little bit more like we thought it was going to. I didn't have the Grizzlies being the second seed overall. I didn't really I never saw that, and maybe it was just, moments in their schedule. But I think most people can admit that they'd be more worried seeing the Lakers, the Nuggets, or the Rockets over. Yeah. So
I agree. And the Thunder too.
Oh, I mean, yeah, the Thunder is they're the number one. They're the scariest team in the West for sure. I mean, in the fact that, their depth is insane. A guy can get injured. Shea could get injured and they could still go to the NBA Finals. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy because he's the leading scorer for the team. Yeah. And my boy Hartenstein, man, can't believe he's doing as much as he has been for them.
The fact that my bad opinions can now be accessed forever. That is the one part about doing a podcast or a YouTube channel that I don't know that I love, because
you're like, why would they pay Hartenstein more than $12 million?
In my mind, Chet was the future, and Chet was like the guy. Hartenstein's playing 15 minutes a game while Chet rests. Like, what are we doing? But no, they've figured it out, and he has been invaluable, especially with Chet still coming back from injury and like figuring stuff out. But that team, their depth, I feel like they have 12 guys that are like very good.
Can score 15 plus a night.
Yeah, like very good. And so,
Isaiah, isn't it like Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins? Like, these are people you think, when I see A. Wiggins, I'm like, oh, Andrew Wiggins. I'm like, wait, that's the Thunder though. Wait, who's this?
Right.
Like, it makes you actually wonder, like, who is this guy? Like Jordan Goodwin on the Lakers, that dude that was wearing the mask. I'm like, who is he?
I get that every now and then with Davion Mitchell, who's the Miami Heat point guard. You just see D Mitchell, and it's like, what? Like, I'll when it first happened, I had a few things where I was like, was there a trade a monumental trade that I missed? Like, we have Donovan Mitchell, and Davion has been very good for us. But yeah, I do think. I think Aaron Wiggins as your 12th option, you're in an awesome spot. And they have a bajillion first-round picks. This might be the start of a dynasty that, honestly, I feel like they deserved. I feel like they had this opportunity in 2009, 2010. 2011 is when they got to the finals and played the Heat. We smoked them. But but I still think they had that opportunity to build something like this. But now they have this team that's incredibly deep. They've pretty much paid everyone, I think. I know Chet.
I think so,
coming up here, but that's in another year or two, I think. And they have a slew of draft picks, so they could be good for the next 6, 7, 8 years, which
Same, just trade back for KD, bring him back full circle.
Yeah. Whereas like Boston, right, they're going to hit a pinch point with salaries. That's going to happen. Derek White at some point or whoever, I think they had last year, they have this year, and I think they have next year kind of guaranteed with that. And then I would imagine that team breaks up a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. And I read a rumor the other day that the Celtics are going to look at trying to get KD over the summer. So I don't know how that would work with their payroll.
Yeah. Yeah.
And who they would have to give up. I mean, is that Derek? You have to think like Derek White. Those type of guys are the guys that have the contract to match.
Porzingis or Derek White, but they're paid less. I mean, it's really Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum that have the matching contract. Which why would you want old Durant over those guys that are in
exactly? And I think he wants to play with those guys. So it's like he's not going to trade Jaylen Brown. So he.
All due respect to Kevin Durant, I don't think that he's going to be dictating the terms of things anymore.
Yeah.
Like I think it's like, hey, bud, we've given you 2 different opportunities with 2 different other All-Stars, Kyrie, Devin Booker, like these great players, and you haven't been able to do it. So maybe just like calm down. Like, demanding stuff. Like calm down. You are you're a fine player. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was the Heat beat the Warriors with Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler played like 28 minutes, had 11 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists.
Only 11 points.
11 points in 28 minutes, but it's because Steph was out, I think was a big reason that they lost. And I think what Jimmy Butler is, and I've always thought this, is like he is a very top tier second option.
Yeah.
He like almost flirts with a 1, but he's not a 1. He is as your second option, he is deadly. And I think my tone has kind of shifted towards Jimmy Butler on the Warriors. Like if they made a run and did it and it like helped Steph and then also cemented Butler's legacy as a great player. I mean, he is a great player. Like, I don't know that I would hate it. I'm like hating it less.
I would be absolutely furious.
Yeah.
If the Warriors came out with the championship this year.
Yeah, that'd be a bummer.
I would honestly, that might be the most explicit podcast we ever have. Like, we would have to do parental warnings because I don't know how much I would be able to hold back because the Celtics and the Warriors, that one should have already gone to the Celtics. Like, that was already, the Warriors never should have made that. Like, obviously, the run for Steph, sweet, Yeah. But, like, they're in the, like, reality of it, they just don't fit. The puzzle and the math isn't mathing for them to be in this equation. So if they end up making themselves into this equation, I'm going to lose my rocker.
I would disagree because I think what the Jimmy Butler trade did for them is that gives them scoring, facilitating, and really strong defense.
It definitely made them better. I agree.
Outside of Steph, it also got rid of some of those bigger contracts, Andrew Wiggins being one of them. And like, he scored 40 the other a couple days ago for us, which was awesome. But then I'm sure he followed that up with a 12-point game. Like that's the Andrew Wiggins. That's it. Like he could go absolutely off, or he could be like fine. And I think that they have young talent. I think they have the best shooter that's ever existed or ever been dreamt of. I mean, and that helps. Draymond does nothing for me. I don't think he's a great interior defender, and I think against the team,
for team chemistry.
I would disagree. I think he's great for team chemistry. I think that those players outside of Jordan Poole,
I was going to say, we should ask Jordan Poole.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think maybe Draymond knew Jordan Poole was gone, or I don't know. I think he tried to enforce and was like, this is how we do things, and there wasn't room for ego. But to me, I try to think of like, can he guard Joker? No. Could he guard Şengün? Like, maybe, could he guard Chet? Like, no. Like, it's going to be
not even Hartenstein.
Yeah. And so if he is your big, which I don't know if they have another center that they've like really gone to, but
I don't think
Draymond at the 4 is not a stretch 4. And so, I mean, that to me is limiting, but then they have guys like Kuminga, who the Heat really tried to get in that trade, and they wouldn't give him up.
Which is crazy because I knew Kuminga wanted out because he wanted more minutes. Like there was a big disagreement at the beginning of the season, and like that's why he actually got benched.
But I think he got more. I mean, in that Heat game, I think he played like 27, 28 minutes.
I think him and Kerr like fixed to get their relationship because he definitely is playing again. Like he's playing more again. He's flourishing like he was before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I have turned the corner on the Warriors thing to where I'm not just like wishing anything, and I think it's more Steph legacy stuff probably than
yeah.
anything. But let's talk about some contenders going in the opposite direction, and that is the Bucks with Lillard having
Yeah.
having blood clots, which I've lost a player. Chris Bosh came out because of blood clots, and it was in his heart, which is terrifying. I think for Dame,
Horrifying.
it was like in his calf. I think it's in his calf
Yeah.
or something, but out indefinitely and like,
Oh, breaking news. Sorry to
ooh,
interrupt you.
yeah, what's up?
The Grizzlies just fired their head coach.
Dang, all right, well.
Yeah, as a fifth seed. It just came through Bleacher Report. Sorry. That it took me off by surprise.
Ah, man, I wish we had sweet like breaking news banners. We need a producer.
Right.
We need someone running the ship behind the scenes. But yeah, that I mean, I don't even know who their coach was.
Tyler Jenkins. Never heard of him.
Yeah,
Did
no.
I say his name right even? Let's see. No, Taylor Jenkins.
Taylor. I thought it might be
Mhm.
Taylor. Okay.
I don't even know what he looks like if I'm going to be honest with
No.
you.
No, yeah, that is okay. Well,
Yeah, sorry, but back to the Bucks with Damian Lillard.
they're in trouble. I mean, I think
I
it's
think
going to be
so.
yeah, I think it's going to be pretty tough for them to, I don't know if just Giannis and losing the outside shooting that they have, and Grayson Allen being gone, and Drew Holiday being gone, and Chris Middleton being gone. I get that Kyle Kuzma is who they brought in. I don't know if Kuzma is. I mean, maybe he is up for that, and I don't know. I know that the Nuggets just beat him.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was love to see it. It was Jokic. Excuse me, sorry, Jokic's first game back. So
Yeah.
it's nice to see that he's back because when he's not, we're awful. Like
Yeah.
just point blank.
So
like
true. So true. Yeah, I don't know. I think what else? What else is going on? I feel like the 5 seed Pistons have been a fun surprise
it
this
makes me
year.
so happy to see Detroit do so good. So like I have family from Michigan.
Do you?
So yes.
Yeah. My best bud is he's from Detroit, from Farmington Hills or I think somewhere around there. But yeah, outside Detroit, so diehard Lions fans, and we became friends when I moved here in 2010, where I was very arrogant about my Miami Heat. In 2010, I felt very passionate.
You're living large.
It was a real high. 2006 was the first championship they ever had after being started in '88, so that was a big moment with Shaq and Dwayne Wade. But yeah, then I don't know.
You want to go outside or what? You go out or you can stay in? You're not going to
Dang.
stay in there.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I feel like the Pistons, there was a moment where it was like, is Cade even the guy? Like he's struggling, but it was just Cade versus the NBA. Like there was not a lot of great options on the team, but I feel like the Pistons have, again, 6-4 in the last 10, sitting in the 5th seed of the East I don't know, 26-21. That's not a great record. 26 and
for them it is though. As much as it's awful, like they were awful last year.
Yeah.
Like, and I think Cade got so much heat because Detroit is just known bad for their not known for bad draft picks, but they don't have the greatest history.
They
like
don't.
Killian Hayes.
Yeah.
And who is the dude? I can't even say his name, but the one that they took over Chris Bosh and D Wade and all them.
In 2004, was that Vlade? Oh shoot, I can't remember.
I can't. I'm
Dang.
like, why?
But bad draft picks across the board. Yeah,
they're just bad, and because it was 2004. Because that was the year they won. I remember reading something that he would come to practice drunk because he wanted to be the cool guy. He was like, I'm the new draft pick. I need to know, or like I need to be that cool guy. Let me pull up his name.
Yeah, for some reason I'm thinking Vlade, but I know that's wrong. Regardless, though, it's cool to see that team doing well. And again, 5th seed, they would be, I believe it's the 9th seed in the West with that same record. So I wouldn't call it a championship run quite yet. But for where they were last year to this year, I think they would. I mean, I think any fan in Detroit would take it. And they're happy to see. I mean, they're not a play-in team. And again, they weren't in anything last year. And so to be, to have made the playoffs, I think is pretty exciting. What do you think about
Militant Oh, geez, why can't it? It's Darko.
Milicic. Yeah, Milicic.
Yeah, that's what it was. I knew it started with a D.
Dang. Yeah. Which I did see that they just had. I think he's been doing more interviews or something recently. People are talking about it. Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't think the Pistons are contenders this year.
Not
but
at all.
I think
maybe in like 5 or 6 years they might have something because they lost Duran. Is it Duran? No, it's Ivy.
Yeah.
They lost Ivy to that broken leg.
Yeah. Which, I mean, hey, I think at this point, like, get some playoff experience. You're probably not going to beat a Celtics or a Cavs, if that's where you're at. But hey,
it's great to play when other teams are on vacation. Like
they could if they, I feel like if they ended up, if it's Pacers, Pistons, like, I don't know that the Pacers are the definitive favorite there, they would have home court, but I could see, so they could potentially win a round in the playoffs. And I think for them, that would be, that's kind of the goal.
That's the finals win for them.
And that's a fast turnaround because you're right, to have not made it at all and then to be back. And so hopefully they can get more pieces. Players want to be in Detroit more and I'd love them to like bring the bad boys back, like start hurting people, start beating people up.
Yeah, I think around this time they only had 15 to 16 wins. Like I know if that even they were just so bad and they're doing, like you said, they're still not great.
Yeah,
but they're better.
I think that I mean, I think marked improvement is what you want to see. I don't know that there's ever been hey, we didn't make the playoffs. Hey, now we're a contender for a championship, unless there were injuries to superstar players. That could be the only instance I could think of. But like, let's talk through briefly, like what some of these matchups would be if where their teams are at in the play-in is where they end up. And that is in the East, if the Magic are the 8th seed, the Hawks are the 7th. If the Bucks can stay at 6, the Pistons at 5, the Pacers at 4, the Knicks at 3, the Celtics at 2, and the Cavs at 1. Cavs Magic, I think the Cavs will destroy them. That's not going to be good. Celtics Hawks could be like frisky, but I don't. I mean, the Celtics will win.
It could. I think the Hawks could get frisky, but they just are so. Dyson Daniels is a dog. But I would hate that. Would be the series I would hate to see the most.
That starting 5 is the Monstars. Like it is. They're so good. I mean, it's crazy. Now, the Bucks right now have I think it's a 5-game lead over the Hawks with I don't know how many games left. So if the Bucks end at 6, which is what I can promise you, the New York Knicks, who are at 3rd, that's what they want to happen. No Damian Lillard Bucks for the playoffs is like probably best case scenario for them because they have all the athletic guys you need to cover Giannis. I mean, they can throw OG, they can throw Mikal. I mean, they've got options there. So to me, the most interesting matchup in the East in the playoffs would actually be Pistons Pacers. Like I think that would be the least one-sided. Now, if Dame comes back and is healthy, Knicks, Bucks could be interesting. But, I mean, I think the first round for the Cavs or the Celtics is feeling good, whereas in the West, it is so much more interesting. So right now, the Timberwolves are in 8th, the Warriors in 7th, the Clippers in 6th, the Grizzlies in 5th, just fired their coach, the Lakers in 4th, the Nuggets in 3rd with a 2-game lead over the Lakers. Lakers and Grizzlies right now have the same record, but Lakers have the tiebreaker. Nuggets have a 2-game lead at 46-28 in 3rd. Rockets have a 2-game lead over the Nuggets, and then the Thunder have a 13-game lead over the Rockets. So Thunder are your number 1 pick. So Thunder Timberwolves is kind of fun though. Like
I was going to say
fun first round.
Fun.
Yeah.
And I think the Timberwolves have beaten the Thunder once or twice this season already.
Yeah.
So I think it's that would be, of course,
What an
Rudy
upset.
Gobert. Yeah, Rudy
Yeah.
Gobert does nothing, so we know that. So
But
it's
he
just pretty much
does.
all on Ant.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, what they would do, especially if Chet is fully healthy, I mean, you just have Chet stretch him out,
Yeah.
to the foul line, or they have to get, who's their starting four right now on the Timberwolves? I don't even know. But their four might have to guard Chet at the 5, and yeah, it's a matchup issue.
Yeah.
But they do have someone who can defend the paint really well, which you
Yeah.
want against Shea. I mean, you do. Shea can weasels his way in there. I feel like Rockets Warriors, the 2nd versus 7th seed, that's really interesting.
That would be a great series, and I would love to see the Rockets come out, but that would be.
I would put money on the Warriors, probably. Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. Is I would put money on the Warriors.
Yeah,
but I think I would love to see the Rockets do it.
It would be like I feel like both the Timberwolves Thunder and Warriors Rockets are like much. You must watch these games.
Must
and then
watch TV.
It stays good though. Then Clippers Nuggets. That's still good if it's Kawhi at peak of his powers.
Love that. My buddy Fuad is a Clippers fan, so if we were able to knock out the Clippers for the playoffs, it would just be able to sprinkle a little bit of.
To me, their strengths really fall into where the Nuggets can defend. I mean, you put Aaron Gordon on Kawhi, and then you put Christian Brown on Harden, and let the rest kind of just work itself out. But I would favor the Nuggets in that matchup. But again, the Clippers, they've only lost 5 games less.
They're frisky.
It's not like there's some trash team that's gotten in. And then, I mean, Lakers Grizzlies will be interesting. My money's on the Lakers for that because I think a lot of this is pre-Luka. And so, I think with Luka on that team, but it does give us, I don't think we've seen this really in the playoffs. I mean, it gives, I guess they weren't part of that same, right? The Zion draft wasn't the Luka draft, was it?
No.
Okay, I don't know why.
It was a year before.
Yeah, that's what. Okay,
Trae Young and Luka, Marvin Bagley.
Yeah, that's who went second. Who went number 1 that year?
Ben Simmons, right?
I think you might be right.
I think I am right.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons, Marvin
Ben
Bagley.
Simmons, Bagley. Then was it Trae Young who then they were able to trade for Luka, or did it go Luka at 3? I thought it was 3-5 that they switched.
It was 4-5. I thought. Right?
I don't know. Regardless, we don't have to die on this hill. Either way, Luka versus Trae is fun. They got traded for each other, and so still a fun. Oh wait, actually, it wouldn't be Trae. It would be Ja Morant. Good Lord, my brain is all over the place. But
you were right, and I was wrong. It was Luka at 3.
Yeah, and then Trae at 5, and then they swapped him. But
Jaren Jackson Jr. at 4.
Ja Morant, I mean, I feel like it's just fun in the playoffs as it is with and I don't know that the Lakers they have some pretty athletic guys that can cover him, but I don't think
Austin Reeves, man,
is going to guard Ja Morant. Ooh, all right, yeah. I mean, Gabe Vincent probably is the more likely matchup, but still kind of tough. But he did. I mean, he is a defensive, defensive point guard more than anything. He's not there to score. He's there to lock up. So I think he could be good, but I think we can agree that the West playoffs are much more interesting than the East.
That's a lot of must-watch basketball.
That is a lot. Yeah. All right. So then briefly, last thing, talk about NBA wise, and then we're going to finish talking through the NFL free agent period and kind of who went where. What do you do if you're the Sixers? What do you do? Because you have 2 more years of paying Paul George, right? And 3 more years of Embiid, and 2 or 3 more years of Maxey, right? So those guys are on the team. Paul George is an embarrassing high amount of money. I think it's $45 million a year or something dumb.
Yeah,
there are. Oof.
Can you file Daryl Morey? Can he just be gone? Or is he does he own it? What is he? Can he just be out of the equation?
I think that because he was the Celtics GM, right? Years ago, Morey?
I think so, yeah.
And that's where he got the reputation for being so cutthroat. And then he went to Houston, and then from Houston to Philadelphia, I think. I think, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you do. I think the issue is, I mean, Embiid is a player that you have to pay, but to me, it would be a one of two things. And Zion doesn't have I don't know that he'll ever reach Embiid's ability, but this is what I would do. You have to figure out something, and right now the NBA Players Association wouldn't allow for this, but figure out something with you get paid per games played.
Yeah.
And if you pay all of them, great, $55 million a year or whatever that crazy contract is. But if you don't, like, you're missing money. It makes it more affordable for us as a team. I don't know how you structure that within a salary cap, though, because it's like, what if you'd still take the hit. Like, you couldn't bring in other players, right? Because it would still be, hey, we're going to assume he's going to play all the games, even though he never will. I just don't know. I don't know what you do. I don't think there are role players that exist that can cover. They're like the opposite of the Thunder, where they have like no depth at all.
Yeah,
like, there's
none whatsoever.
And they're hurt all the time. And so it's like, it's crazy. I mean, even Maxey, I feel like he's hurt all the time. Like, they're all just hurt all the time. Yeah.
I think he hurt his hand or his wrist or something. But yeah, they are always, I think the ambulance is on standby.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, I mean, it is it's dire. I'd be very, very worried if I was if I was a 76ers fan, because you are farther from an NBA title than you've been in a long time. Because you also, I don't think they have a ton of draft picks either, right? Like,
they lost a good amount of them. Yeah,
on the Ben Simmons stuff and on all of that. Oh, I mean, I don't feel bad. They're my least favorite fan base in all of sports. And so I think when you throw batteries at your own players, it's like, well, I mean, yeah.
But what do we say about the Philly fans, man? They're just, some of them are mean.
Win or lose, if you're in a championship game, your city is getting destroyed.
Exactly. I mean, no matter what, crime rate is going up.
Cars will be flipped and on fire, and that is not an indication of if they're mad or happy. They express their happiness through destruction, and they also express their sadness through destruction. So
let's destroy the town. Wild. We just are so happy.
Yeah, exactly. We're so happy. We're just gonna ruin everything. But yeah, okay. So NBA, a lot's happening. Obviously, we're in the final, breath of the season, and so we would it be by next week that we'll actually get, like, when does the season officially end? Let me look. Because it's coming up. I'm trying to think when the last day would be. So April 13th is the Rockets' last game against the Nuggets. So sometime around there. So yeah, that's in like 2 weeks or so. Yeah, so it's coming up. Crazy. But let's shift to, we started last week talking about NFL free agency and what's going on. We got through the AFC, and then we got through one division, the NFC East, which randomly has a piece of news, free agency wise. And then we've gone through the Chicago Bears. And so we are going to start here with the Detroit Lions in a minute, and continue with the NFC North and do Lions, Packers, then Vikings. But first, it's important to know that the New York Giants have found a quarterback.
Yes, they did.
And that quarterback is it's a wild choice, but hey.
And we talked about him quite a bit on this podcast, but go Big Blue. Did you hear that?
Yeah. So it's Russ, for those that don't know, Russell Wilson. Yeah. And he is on his third team in 3 years now. Still getting paid very well from Denver for one last year, and then we are done with him. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that in the end, first and foremost, it still was the right move for Denver. Let Bo Nix get the reps, let him show that he's the guy. We have felt that. Now they feel empowered to get weapons around him, build up that defense. We're within a certain stretch of potentially becoming a contender again, which is exciting. Russ was not a part of that, was not a catalyst towards that happening. If anything, they got better once he left. Right. He did nothing. He complained. He threw for 37. He threw a 37-yard pass on 3rd and 1, so we'd have to punt. Like, it was ridiculous stuff. If you are Malik Neighbors, do you feel good about Russ being the guy better than Danny Dimes? I probably would feel better.
If I am gonna be honest with you. I feel better about if I'm Malik Neighbors. I'm happier to have Jameis Winston,
Because Winston is also there.
and
Which,
he's
yeah,
just gonna fling it. I
yeah.
think
It's like
so.
run
Like
as far as you can, as fast as you can. And I'm gonna throw it, and
exactly. So
yeah,
I do think Malik Neighbors is excited with both these pickups,
yeah.
and there's rumors that Shador might even get thrown in this mix.
That would be the most toxic quarterback room. Like Jameis Winston would be keeping the peace for sure. I feel like Russ would be passive aggressive, and Shador would just kind of be a dick. I don't think Shador is going to be a good quarterback or
I
good
don't.
NFL quarterback. I don't.
I don't think so either. But don't forget about Tommy Cutlets, man.
Oh
This
yeah, and Tommy DeVito, who's never playing a snap in the regular season again.
never.
Yeah, and so tell your agent maybe don't overcharge delis next time when they want you there to be like, you better pay him $20,000. It's like, what? We're a mom and pop shop deli. We don't have $20,000 to bring someone in. Get out of here. And so yeah, I think that time was over, but he'll still make good money as a backup.
Oh yeah,
Dang, it's still an awesome job to be a fourth string quarterback on an NFL team.
Right. You're in
$1 million a year.
Sunday.
$1 million a year, and you don't play. You just have to practice and like do your homework. It's like just to be like a student, no expectations. There was an entire show years ago called Blue Mountain State. Have you ever heard of this show? It was like a sitcom back in the day. It's actually the guy who played Alan Richardson, the guy who plays Reacher now, if you know who that I'm talking about, the huge muscly dude. He's a linebacker in it, but it's basically like it's about this. They're kind of like a University of Alabama type program, like, contender every year, all of that. And the main character in it is the second string quarterback of the team. And his whole thing is like, it's the best thing in the world. Like, I'm on a winning team. Nothing is expected of me. And like, blah, blah, blah. So that is going to be Tommy DeVito, except he's fourth string. It's a little different. So we might actually get cut. But yeah, the Giants are in shambles. We don't need to spend more time on them. I don't think the internet will ever get over not paying Saquon and then
I know.
Yeah. And then paying the wide receiver with the most drops in the NFL, that exact salary that he wanted.
The same thing.
Crazy. Well, let's go to a team that does have a pretty bright future, and that is the Detroit Lions. Obviously, we're just wanting to highlight, a couple things that they've done here. I think a big part of it is they've kept a lot of their players. I think that, I don't know. Keeping Tim Patrick, who had a decent postseason, former Bronco.
3 torn ACLs with us.
That's the issue. I mean, the issue is you can't pay him a ton, but I think it's like $4 million. So it's easy. I haven't seen them do anything massive.
I think the DJ Reed.
Yeah.
Is there that might be the biggest thing for me because that was the Jets corner number 2.
Yeah.
That was his guy. That was behind Sauce. It's him. And I think them actually getting some help on those because I think that's where they lost a lot of the games. Those close battles was in those cornerback games because Jetta is getting past them or things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, agreed. So that is, that's something, and I also think not losing a ton of pieces. And I think their biggest offseason move was, losing some of their coordinators, I think is going to be the biggest.
Pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
Because you lose the quarterback coach. You lost your wide receiver coach. You lost your offensive coordinator. You lost your defensive coordinator. I think you lost another person on the defense as a coordinator. So, they're going to have to rebuild from a different aspect.
Yeah, agreed. And or just trust that, and I don't know if when those coordinators left, they took assistants with them, but hope that there's someone in-house that can do it. The nice thing about football these days is there are a lot of very brilliant people in football. And so with the internet helping make the football world so much bigger, there are more guys that can do, those jobs. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think I still have them at the very least winning this division unless the Packers can really, I suppose the Vikings always are a threat as well. It's a tough division in football, but yeah, I would still have the Lions probably as the favorite.
Me too.
Yeah. I guess the one variable would be if their offense is completely changing, then is Jared Goff great? Does that help Amon-Ra? Does it help Laporta? these guys, and Gibbs rushing, like, I don't know. I think this should be all right. Let's go to a team that's done very little, and that's the Green Bay Packers. But what they've done, I've really liked. So to me, I mean, the Mecole Hardman thing is funny, right? Like
that's what I was going to say.
It's funny. Yeah, but to me, it's Aaron Banks, right? Like them getting a great new piece for their offensive line is a must do. A few years ago, they've had all pros on that offensive line that have had to move on recently. Lindsley, I think he's in his Chargers now. And Bakhtiari kind of getting out. So it was something that needed to happen. They always draft pretty well for the line, but they needed to do it. Re-signed McManus, ex-Bronco. Let's go. But the Packers have done, they've made, compared to other teams, have done very little. And that's okay.
Yeah, I don't know who Nate Hobbs is, but I think that means Jair Alexander is probably on the out. A 4-year, $48 million deal.
Or one last year, try to get, because he's not gone. Like Jair's on that team. And so, to me, it's like, I think even if you did it for 1 year and then you moved on, because I think he's under contract for one more year.
Yeah.
And I think that's the holdup is he's wanting an extension and the Packers are like, been hurt a lot. So, I think that was a smart way to spend money. And again, you're having to spend on Jordan Love already at quarterback, so you don't get that like rookie discount, but all of their wide receivers outside of Mecole Hardman, they're drafting, right? They're just like they're third, fourth, fifth round picks, so their wide receiver room comes in pretty cheap. I'm a pro Mecole Hardman guy.
Yeah.
I believe he's a Gator, isn't he? He has Gator vibes.
I was gonna say after you said that, I kind of feel like he does.
Yeah, hold on. I got a Mecole Hardman Gator. Hardman.
Oh no, he went to he went to Georgia. He was a Bulldog.
Dang. All right, then I don't care at all.
I don't care at all.
Yeah, if he stays on the team or doesn't, it doesn't impact my life at all. Dang, Georgia.
I know when I read Georgia, I was like, he's not gonna like that one.
I actually like Georgia, but we can move on. So the Packers haven't done a ton. Let's go to the Vikings. Re-signing Jones, Aaron Jones, I think he had a great year. He did exactly what he did in Green Bay. He just stayed healthy the whole time. He is a dynamic pass-catching back who can rip off 30, 40-yard runs, isn't huge, but has great vision, solid speed, phenomenal hands, and is like, I think he is a good addition to that team, especially for a young quarterback. Check down passes that's what you want.
I really wanted him to come to Denver.
Oh man, that'd be for the same reason though. And so outside of that,
Jonathan Allen on the defense.
I was gonna say and Hargrave, like they both seem like pretty good pieces for that defensive line. And then again, they would be getting what's his name back, defensive end who got injured, Michigan guy. Why am I forgetting their best defensive player? Oh, never mind. We're talking about Vikings. I thought we were talking about Lions still. Good Lord. I need to wake up. I've had a aggressive morning. So yes, going to Vikings. I think the biggest thing for this team is like, can JJ do it? Right? Like, is he the guy? The fact that they didn't want to pay Darnold, I think was brilliant. I think that was the right move.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
I was just going to say I got a notification from Bleacher Report earlier when we were talking about NBA that Aaron Rodgers likes the Vikings.
Complete the cycle, bro.
Exactly.
You gotta. I'm not going to lie. There is not a team that is better built for Aaron Rodgers than the Vikings. It is a team with no, I don't agree on the Steelers. I think for the Vikings, number one, Rodgers lost plenty of playoff games in the snow at Lambeau. They would have home field and they would lose. And the NFC Championship game happened tons of times, so rule that out. In Minnesota, dome.
You have a dome.
Let's go. Aaron Jones, who you've played with, let's go. Two elite wide receivers in Jefferson and
Addison.
Yeah, thank you. Jordan Addison, which is awesome. A great isn't there a tight end?
TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah, it's Hawkinson. Wasn't he from Detroit?
He was the Detroit.
Okay, so not Green Bay, but still. to me, that is walking into a good offense with a good offensive line and a good defense. And
right, re-signing a lot of those guys and then bringing on additional guys.
Yeah.
To I didn't think that, like, looking at this now, they're actually going to be a little bit scarier depending on their quarterback play.
Agreed. And I think that, if Rodgers could come in on maybe it's like a 2-year deal and maybe only 1 year is guaranteed, or like there's no, make it very team friendly, because in the end, you're not screwed if it is JJ, but like that does give JJ another year to do it. That gives Rodgers a guy who, I think the issue in the Jets was just they didn't have an offensive line. Like, I think that was, and Rodgers still threw more interceptions than I remember, but they also had a worse offensive line than I ever remember him being behind in Green Bay. And so, I don't know. If it were me, I'm still pro Rodgers. I get that.
I agree.
The overall sentiment is he's not worth it, but I would disagree. I think that he is worth it, and
I think so.
Man, that would be a pickup. Gosh, that'd be a fun pickup if they can afford it. They just spent a lot of money on defensive line, so I don't know that they even have that money now. So we'll see about that. But I do think NFC North, to me, continues to be one of the scariest. I mean, they had were they technically 1-2, Detroit and Minnesota?
Yeah.
Going in, and like it was scary. Both underperformed in the playoffs, which I think they would admit. But yeah. All right, let's go to a division that I don't want to call them irrelevant, but let's go talk about NFC South. So we've gone north, we've seen tough, we've gone east, which is NFC East to me the most annoying division in football.
Yeah.
And so let's go to the South, maybe the most irrelevant division in football. Maybe AFC South is, I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know. I'll be honest with you. The thing that out of the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah.
That I feel like the best move they made was opting into Kirk Cousins' deal.
Okay.
And I know that doesn't show, it's not on our list or anything like that, but here's why. Because I'm pretty sure you were actually the one that told me this, was now they have to pay this dude this money, but now that's what their trade value is.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
exactly.
Now that whatever that 40 million, whatever, they have to get that back. So a team like the Browns, say they don't get Cam Ward or whatever, they have to go and give asset on asset on asset, aka like Myles Garrett. Like those type of things are.
Yep.
I think that was the smartest move on their end.
Agreed.
And I think you absolutely called it with what they were doing.
To me, it was the only thing that makes sense, and what you have to hope for, though, because Penix is a future in Atlanta, and what's so interesting is like of the rookies last year that were all like considered good, let's call them the top 10 picks. Weren't there 5? I think it really was. To me, Drake May was fine. I think that Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels were the standouts, and I think Jaden Daniels was a surprise, like how great he was, and just how far that team went. I don't know that they've made some moves, and Debo, and we've discussed that, but Penix is one of those guys where it's like I thought injury was the only reason to not have him be the starter, because he was coming off of an injury. He's had that year, like. Everyone talked about how if he had been healthy, he was a guaranteed drafted over Bo Nix.
Oh, yeah.
All due respect, Bo Nix started year 1, game 1, and got better and better and better. So I would think that your hope for this year is, again, let Penix get a few more background reps, and they could go about it one of 2 ways. I feel like either hope that Cousins comes out and is playing well, and then a team like the Giants or a team like, whoever, that you get them to bite on taking over this deal and you get some picks for it. Or B, you bench Kirk Cousins and be like, everyone's seen how he plays, give us what you want. You get less draft capital, but I think you'll still get someone that goes after it. Because Herbert will go down or someone will go down. Joe Burrow might go down. And it's like, hey, guys, we have $1 bajillion in our offense. Like, we need Joe Burrow. Although I don't know how you could possibly afford Kirk Cousins. But I think there are those teams that will have the draft flexibility that could make that
work. Are a big team that keep coming to mind.
Raiders, if that, because Geno is there, but if Geno, the change of scenery isn't beneficial, then, and it looks like he's cooked and that's a bad contract. If you could swap the contracts, knowing that you wouldn't have to pay Penix for 2 seasons past this next season, right? And then in the NFL, it's 5 years for a first-round pick, right? So it's like you have 4 seasons of Penix regardless.
Yeah.
You could absorb a quarterback contract and still put out a pretty decent team, and which is kind of what the Broncos are doing, not by choice, by a ridiculous guaranteed contract that should have never happened. But I don't know. I think that best case scenario, Cousins comes out and lights it up, and maybe they're like, all right, let's roll with him. Pitts is going to be a 1,200-yard season tight end. I'm not taking him in fantasy, but I love Kyle
Broncos. If he got traded to the Broncos, I was gonna, but I'm not getting stuck with him in a dynasty league.
Oh man, I mean, the upside of that, if you're able to get him low, could be incredible. But it's just like, I mean, I've been playing that upside for 4 years now, and it's like, bro, because he was so good in college. He was so good. He mossed everybody. And I'm a Florida fan. I watched every single game he played, and it was just like, this guy's unbelievable. Like, he's going to redefine the position, and then to do nothing. It's been so disappointing, and I don't blame him. He's maybe partially to blame. I don't know. But it's that offense. They're not even trying to get him the ball. It's insane.
Right. They don't. I wish they actually gave an effort into giving him the ball. That's what pisses me off watching Falcons games.
Yeah. I do think, though, Jake Matthews, the tackle that they brought in, 2-year, $45 million extension. Sorry, they retained him. $38 million guaranteed, so they're keeping that offensive line going. I would say that's probably their most, monetarily impactful thing. I don't have high hopes for the Falcons. So, sorry, Bijan. Panthers. I mean, Red Rockets back. Let's go. I was
like, who? What?
Yeah, the red. Is it the Red Rifle or the Red Rocket? Andy Dalton? Come on. I think it's the Red Rocket, which is another name for a dog boner.
That's what I was thinking.
I always thought was funny. Yeah, I always thought that was intentional because it's kind of how he plays.
Right.
To me, it's just like, they're, I don't know, re-signing some guys.
Rico Dowdle, I mean, dude's been in the league for 5-6 years already. I thought he was a rookie last year.
Yeah.
Like,
Morig, I feel like safety help has been good. Again, not high hopes for this team. Bryce Young was good at the end of the season. Played better for sure.
Yeah, they got frisky for sure.
Still not worth what they gave up for him. And I think that's going to change how aggressive teams are with quarterbacks moving forward. Although the concerns for Bryce Young were pretty valid, and they've played out as too small.
Tiny.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, all right, great. I hope they don't have a top 5 pick next year.
Right.
Let's go with that. All right. So the Saints, they got trying to think, but Brandon Cooks, interesting.
Wasn't he originally a Saint a long time ago?
Oh yeah.
So he just went back home. Cam Jordan and Chase Young re-signing. Oh, Justin Reed. That's who kind of surprised me. I don't know how or why.
Yeah.
They got why, like, because 31 mil for that's a lot. For
Cam
safety.
Jordan it's crazy how long he's been on that team. Like, there was a show back in the day, you wouldn't have watched it. It was called The League. It was an FX show, and it was about a fantasy football league. And it was kind of when fantasy football was coming into more like prominence, like SportsCenter would talk about it. And before that, they never did, right? And in that show, Cam Jordan was in it. Like,
really?
As a good player, that had to have been from like 2007. Like, it was from forever ago. It's crazy.
I'm trying to wonder, because he's played 15 seasons in the NFL.
All with the Saints.
All with the Saints. Mm-hmm. And that means he came the year after they won the Super Bowl, right? Because didn't they win
Must have been, yeah.
In 2009?
Yep. Yeah, when they beat Peyton.
Yeah.
Which, really quick, and we haven't brought it up, isn't it so dumb that now you can't do what they did at the start of the second half and do an onside kick for the second half kickoff? You have to announce it. Like, that's so dumb.
And it has to be in the fourth quarter, and you have to be down.
I think you should be able to do it whenever you want. Like,
what's the point of having a play call?
Yeah. It's like, hey, everyone, just so you know, we're going to be trying to get this ball back. So make sure to have all your wide receivers up front. Like, it's so dumb.
Bring your hands, team, because we're kicking it right here.
Well, it just takes the challenge out of, to me, I mean, like a masterstroke. That was like such a smart call, and like you just
Yeah.
don't get that anymore, which is kind of a bummer. But I get it. They don't want players getting hurt, and that is one thing. I mean, when there's an onside kick, players are
Everyone's
running in there.
diving.
They're trying to bone saw you because they're trying to get that ball loose. So, Derek Carr's still with the team, so we'll see what
Yeah.
happens there. The beginning of last season, he looked so good, and then it kind of all went away.
Like 5 games in.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to the Bucks then. They've done some interesting things. They re-signed ex-Florida Gator quarterback Kyle Trask.
He's
He'll
just
never.
been riding that
Oh,
wave,
yeah.
man.
He is good enough to be a backup in the NFL. I feel like he's like the 50th best quarterback in the league, and so great, good backup option. Athletic, whatever. I mean, obviously, Chris Godwin was the big re-signing.
Cannot believe he went back. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, I mean, maybe I get it because that's like your home. That's where you've been your whole career.
Yeah.
But come to Denver. I wanted anyone just to
Well,
come to Denver.
I think the issue is like Denver is still. It's going to be hard getting free agents because Denver is still like 1 year is not enough to prove it. As CJ Stroud showed, Stephon Diggs, who now, by the way, is a Patriot.
I hate that.
I think it's fine.
They said they came out and were like, we don't want to get a veteran wide receiver because Drake May and his mental health. Like, it's just going to be too much on him.
But then they realize they don't have a wide receiver on their roster. So Stephon Diggs is going to get 3,000 targets this year.
That's true.
He's going to get everything he's ever wanted. They're like, yeah, we're going to throw you the ball 17 times a game. Like,
I didn't even think about that because I'm like, he's going to love it. Be such a diva.
Mm-hmm. He is, but the targets won't be an issue this year. And but again, like, Diggs was kind of the big moving piece last year, and there were a few other ones with Devontae Adams and a few other people. But I mean, it is hard to convince a free agent to go with a rookie quarterback, and I think that makes sense. And so, I think they're just going to have to keep drafting well a wide receiver, the Broncos, that is. But also the Bucks, I feel like injuries didn't really go their way, but I think they're a playoff team that I could see making that run. I feel like Baker is talented enough. To do
Evans.
It. Yeah. Michael Evans. Yeah. I mean, Evans, 10 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons, like crazy stuff.
Going all the way back even to like high school, like he's never had, like, I know that doesn't matter for NFL, but like he's had a 1,000-yard season every single year he's played. Football on a pro level, or not pro level, but in a like team environment.
Yeah. Well, and again, for Tampa, I mean, I get why he wouldn't want to go. Having the asset of Chris Godwin is good, but Mike Evans is also at that age where he might start getting hurt a little bit more. I can't remember who their rookie wide receiver was last year, but he kind of came on at the end.
Jalen McMillan.
Thank you. Yeah, I have him in my other dynasty league, and he came on towards the end of the year. I mean, it helped that Godwin was out for a stretch. But yeah, I mean, I think you have to plan for the Mike Evans decline, which we'll see what happens there. I mean, outside of that, I think Levante David coming back is big for them. And then it's all been kind of smaller moves beyond that. So yeah.
Have you ever noticed how much Mike Evans looks like Fred VanVleet?
I have noticed that, but he's like a super tall version of
like 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah, it's crazy.
Sorry, it was just in my head. I was like, yeah, they kind of look alike.
That is so funny because you're right. They look strikingly similar, and like also
beard and everything.
Kind of like JaVale McGee too, like a little bit.
Yeah. That's pretty funny. JaVale never crossed my mind.
But kind of that same like face.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
Maybe it's the facial hair. Maybe that's what
it has to be.
Does it? Yeah. I don't know. All right. So let's go to the NFC West, which for the longest time was a powerhouse that I think. I think it may not
be. Carson Palmer. And Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah. But I think that got a good backup quarterback in Jacoby. They got Zay Jones back. I don't know. They haven't really done a ton. Looking through. Josh Sweat actually. That's pretty nice. So they got a elite pass rusher, which will definitely help.
I say that was from the Eagles.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like their team is just mediocre all around, and like the things they added, just still keep them mediocre.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think they they're not elite at either side
Yeah,
of the ball, and I think that's a problem. Because I think if you're an
exactly.
elite defense with an okay offense, you can do it. And that was, I mean, so many Super Bowl champions for the longest time. That's
Right.
how Trent Dilfer won. That's how the Ravens were won back in the day, right? Actually, Trent Dilfer won 2 Super Bowls in both. He didn't have to be good at football at all, really. I mean, it was with the Bucks defense in 2005, and that's when the defense scored 21 points in the Super Bowl. Just pick sixes for days. It was Derek Brooks days, and oh man,
Yeah.
that's such a fun team. And then he went to the Ravens and did it. I feel like Peyton Manning, you could argue the Broncos' last championship was,
Yep.
so you can win with just a good defense and a mid offense, but to have a mid offense and a mid defense, they're doing things to change that. I think Kyler Murray is, to me, the most interesting guy to watch as the pocket collapses. I think he can do so much to keep a play alive. Trey McBride, their
Yeah.
tight end, showed signs of potentially being elite. I think obviously what's his name, Junior, the wide receiver,
Marvin
Harrison
Harrison Jr.
Jr. Yeah, I mean, it shows all the signs of being pretty elite. I wonder in hindsight if Neighbors will kind of come off being better, or if it's going to be a Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase type of thing, right? Like, which,
Yeah.
I mean, both are elite. It's like, I don't know. You can make arguments for both guys being better, but yeah. So I mean, they're still young, and I think that's kind of what they get. Kyler has to be better. He has to play more. But I don't consider them a championship threat in the
Never.
NFC. Like, no, I would take Lions or Vikings or potentially Packers over them. Just going with the NFC North.
I would even take the Bucks, like
Yeah.
just as to shoot out a name that's we know aren't even contenders.
Only thing I'm worried about with Eagles right now, obviously reigning champions, are they've lost a lot of defensive pieces, and it's just like they won off of that pass rush. I mean, that's what won them. Mahomes could not get comfortable if it's the same game, but Mahomes has 10 seconds in the pocket every play. I don't know. That's scary.
The score probably would have been flipped.
It might have been. And so, I mean, I get you just can't afford them. You can't with Hurts and Smith and Brown. Everyone having these huge contracts. It's exactly what the Bengals are going to run into as well. Yep. The issue is they never had an elite defense. And yeah. So, all right. So go to the Rams. They have the handsomest backup in football, Jimmy Garoppolo, sitting behind Stafford, who I think will be all right. I mean, I think the big move Devontae, right?
Right. It has to be.
Yeah.
What a stud. I can't believe they got Devontae. I didn't know where I was expecting to see him land, but it wasn't with the Rams.
Puka Devontae is a fun wide receiver duo. They brought back Tutu Atwell, who's kind of their slot guy. He'll be all right. He's been all right. Yeah. He got me through in Dynasty when I had no receivers. He actually helped sometimes. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, I wouldn't say they've done anything crazy. I mean, Stafford restructured his contract.
To make it a little bit more team friendly.
Yeah, so they can bring in pieces like Devontae Adams, and I think, where did Cooper Kupp end up?
We'll actually talk about him.
Okay, sorry. Well, we'll get to him in a second, because it's crazy that he went from the Triple Crown, had one kind of off year, and then was off the team. I mean, that's nuts. That's nuts. Imagine Jamar Chase not being on the Bengals in 2 years. Like, it's crazy.
Right.
But yeah, let's go to the 49ers. So I do think, to me, I would have the Rams as my favorite for winning that division.
I agree.
I don't think the Niners or Hawks are doing it for me. But
the Niners lost more people than they signed.
Everyone. Ayuk is still on the team. Kittle's still on the team.
For how long?
They haven't technically re-signed Purdy yet, right?
Nope.
It hasn't gone through. They have Mac Jones on that roster, though, who actually time has kind of been a friend to Mac Jones, because I feel like people saw that, that Patriots team was not great. The play calling wasn't great, and he's better than, he's a solid backup. I think he is I liken him to like a Blake Bortles. Like, should you have been a top 10 pick? No. But are you competent enough to win? If you have 6 games, can you win 4 of them? Probably.
I think
feel
so.
like he could. And that to me is a sign of a good backup.
Last year, actually.
Exactly. Yeah. And at times was as good as Trevor Lawrence, if not better. I mean,
I was going to say, or even better. There was a couple times, I mean, to put it in fantasy point terms, I know it's almost not easier, but sometimes like easier to put it together.
Right.
He had roughly 40 to 45 points.
Yeah.
So anywhere from 300 plus yards, multiple touchdowns, like that average, you know what the averages for quarterbacks are. Not no 40, 45 points.
Certainly not. Yeah. And so I don't know. I thought they had gotten rid of Juszczyk, but it's saying that he re-signed. Okay.
They did, so it was weird. They went and let him go, and then like 2 days later, in the middle of the night, they signed him. It was like at 11 o'clock, like at night.
We need you, bud.
Actually, we want you back.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, he's the best fullback in the NFL.
Yeah, he's the only fullback that I can name in the NFL.
That's what I was also going to say. Is like I can't think of anyone else.
There was John Kuhn for a long time on the Packers. Kuhn, and yeah, he was the only other one. And I only
Andrew Beck is the only other one I can think of, and he was an old Bronco.
Yeah, I definitely don't know that name at all. Yeah, I mean, the positions have just changed. You're not running a ton of eye back, and when you are, a lot of teams are putting in their super athletic tight ends to be their lead blockers.
Exactly,
I mean, I'd rather have Kittle be a lead blocker. Well, no, Juszczyk is pretty good. So useful to a point, but a lot of teams don't even carry a fullback on their roster.
Right.
I mean, it's crazy. All right, so let's go to – so I think that if I could guess, I would guess that the Niners and the Cardinals are within a game or 2 of each other. So I think both are going to have pretty rough seasons. I think coaches are going to be on the hot seat. I think that might be a problem. But the 49ers, if McCaffrey is healthy and Ayuk plays the way that he could play and Purdy stays on top of it, there is certainly a world where they're good. So I don't want to rule that out. You know, it's not like there's just no one there and they're just a shell of a team, but at the same time, they've lost some pieces for sure. Their defense has been absolutely ransacked.
It's looking like Swiss cheese out there.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem. But I don't know. We'll have to see.
Right.
Seahawks. I mean, the biggest thing, Darnold.
They paid him way too much money.
People said that about Geno, though. You know, like
and
maybe
they paid him too much money.
Yeah, and that was a different coach and a different time. Yeah, I mean, if Darnold can play like he did last year in the games that didn't matter, then like he could be incredible. You know what I mean? No DK, but instead they have Cooper Kupp,
and Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
MBS.
You know,
former Packer. He doesn't move the needle much for me, but
every quarterback he's played with won an MVP that year. Did you know that? Mahomes, Rodgers, and then oh my goodness.
Was he on Baltimore this past year? Oh, no, Josh Bills. Oh, yeah. That's hilarious. Wow. Good for him. That? Yeah. Well, that is a fact I would have not come up with. So, I will say though, I think that that who is there? Remind me that I need to dive back into fantasy now. He's been so irrelevant. But Jackson Smith and Jigba. No, Smith and Jigba on the team was the first receiver taken in that class. You know, and concise route runner. I think is going to be solid. Then you add Cooper Kupp to that. I mean, it's not like Darnold doesn't have weapons. I do think it's realistic. There are 6 games where Kupp isn't playing. I think that's probably. I think that's why teams weren't as interested in keeping him around, but still solid. And then I feel like DeMarcus Lawrence, was a good.
That's what I'm saying. That was a really good pickup for them. I feel like, did you see that video of CeeDee Lamb? The news broke out that DeMarcus Lawrence signed with Seattle while he was on stream with someone. So like he was in the car talking. He's like, dang. And then you could just see his face went straight and just like he was pretty pissed.
At a certain point, this is what I'll never understand. It's like you've won no playoff games. Does DeMarcus Lawrence matter on your? You know what I mean? Like,
and he has to play the whole season.
Yeah, and it's like, but how are we gonna not win a playoff game next year without DeMarcus Lawrence? How are we gonna not win one? Like that's It's like you're exactly the same. Like your team is bad. CD, you're a very good football player, but I hope
Dak
the money.
sucks.
I hope the money is worth it because I get that you're probably in a fun market. Being a Dallas Cowboy in Dallas is probably crazy fun, right? Like it is probably a great, and I get that, and I get that you're paid well to be there. But there are some people that, that worry more about success and all of that. And that couldn't have been a contributing factor to DeMarcus Lawrence. Like going to Seattle makes no sense. So sometimes you just want to get paid. And I think people approach it two different ways. And if it were me, I would always try to play, especially being a Cowboy. If you stay with that team, you might have a future in broadcasting. I mean, look at Tony Romo.
Yeah.
Did he
Troy
win?
Aikman?
Yeah, Troy Aikman. I mean, Tony Romo won, I think, one playoff game ever.
Should have been 2.
Yeah, should have been 2. Wait, you're talking about the Dez drop?
Yeah,
it wasn't a catch.
I was waiting for your reaction.
It wasn't a catch.
I was like, I know you're feeling. I know
talking
your stance
about
on this
in Lambeau Field. Yeah, he didn't. He literally used the ground to gather the ball. That's like, I'm sorry. Like, sorry, bud. The rules have changed, but like, catch it with your hands. Come on.
Yeah, not your elbow in the ground.
Yeah. Like he pinned it. Like it's not a catch. And in today's league, that would have taken 4 seconds of review, and they would have been like, no. But back then, it was very controversial because they were like, well, we didn't know you didn't have to hold on to the ball for it to be a catch. It's like, what? We didn't think we had to write this rule. Yeah, exactly. It's like we didn't know that people were so dumb we had to write this as a rule, but sure. We'll write this rule out right now. We'll make it really easy for you. Cool. So that gets us through the NFL. I think the only other quick thing that I wanted to bring up was just we're taking it in a direction that we've very rarely taken this podcast, and this will just be very brief, but being a sports podcast, we have to talk about what the Indiana Fever are doing and building this incredible team around Caitlin Clark, which, by the way, in most markets that the Fever are going to play this year, they're moving to larger arenas because like they can sell tickets.
And this is all because of Angel Reese. Don't forget.
All because of Angel Reese. It's mostly because of Angel Reese. And not because of Caitlin Clark. Now I do understand Angel Reese's point in that like she is a part of that rivalry.
Yeah.
And there is also a slew of women's players who have started to have more prominence and have brought more, Sabrina Ionesco out of Oregon a few years ago was great. There are a few players like that like I know, and I don't watch the WNBA. Yeah. It's not that I'm against it. I missing layups can bother me, and sometimes that's been my experience of watching the WNBA. I think there's a new catalyst of players, and they're also going into the sharpshooter era in the WNBA, and they have some fun players that are doing that. But they essentially, I just want to briefly highlight just some of the moves that the Fever have done. So they kind of got rid of they were a rough team. That's why they got Caitlin Clark as the number 1 overall pick. They were far from prominence. So they brought in DeWanna Bonner, who is a 6-time WNBA All-Star, 2-time champion, basically a living WNBA legend this is what's interesting. Her and Caitlin Clark last year kind of got into it in the playoffs a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it was, but in the end, she's 37, which is my age, young for life, but old for sports, right? It's like, so probably last contract, and she clearly sees the writing on the wall for this team, but she's still, I think she was at like 16 points a game, 8 rebounds, couple assists. So great player. Natasha Howard, who is a former Defensive Player of the Year and 3-time WNBA championship. Basically, yeah.
I know that name only because this is where my addict came in. I gambled on that name before.
Your gambling is wild, and you need to keep it under control. But
I'm doing very good. Do very good.
I have never
spent 17 cents.
That's true. I can't win bets on NBA. So it's like, there's no way I'm even going to put them out on WNBA because every time I bet something, I'm like, this looks so good. And then they're like, oh, this player's actually resting tonight. You're like, no,
this is literally perfect.
No. Yeah. So yeah, Natasha Howard, basically, defensive interior, which, hey, that helps against players like Angel Reese. they traded. So this is interesting. They traded for a player named Sophie Cunningham, who was on the Phoenix Mercury, who is basically a sharpshooter. I mean, think Klay Thompson, right? To go with Caitlin Clark, we'll call her Steph Curry of that, of that league at the moment. And then they signed Sydney Colson, who's a former 2-time champ, Brianna Turner, who's a 2-time all defensive team honoree. I don't know what that means. And then they kept Kelsey Mitchell, who was like Caitlin Clark's running mate from last year, good 3-point shooter as well. Like, they are a scary team. And I think the expectations are they win the title this year, which is cool. I mean, it's cool for a team. I have no idea how their cap is structured or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I couldn't speak to, I know less about that than I do about the leagues that I talk about, where I still know very little about how it works. But it's just interesting. I always like not waiting on a window and not assuming that, if you have Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook, you have a 10-year window. It's like, go all in.
On it now, yeah.
Caitlin Clark is one knee injury away from never being the same player again, and Scooby agrees with me.
Right?
So, yeah, from the background. But yeah, that was it. I just wanted to highlight, one other thing that I'd kind of been looking at, which I've never in my life monitored the offseason of a WNBA team, but that's what is happening with Caitlin Clark, and it's exciting. Like, I want that league to do well. I want them to get profitable, which they're starting to look like they could do. And that's exciting because for the longest time it seemed like it was just subsidized, by the NBA just to like give these college players something to aspire to, and now it's like becoming a real way to make money, and so it's cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. I saw a post the other day. You know what the NBA All-Star Game should do? You know how they did like Caitlin Clark versus Steph Curry and all that?
Yeah, well, they did. The one that they did was Sabrina Ionesco.
Yeah. Let's flip it. Let's do Ben Simmons versus Angel Reese 3-point contest.
That.
Or we can even make it even better, a layup contest.
Oh man, that actually would be so funny. I would love. I would like, because to me, and we'll end on this, but to me, I feel like All-Star games are unfixable, right? Baseball is the only one that has a fun All-Star game, and I think in baseball it determines who gets home field advantage, right?
If that's true, I did not know that.
I thought it did, or it did at one point. We'll have to look into that, but I can find no way that they're going to make the All-Star game exciting. And so what that means is that Saturday night they need to make exciting, right? If everyone's going to go to All-Star Weekend for the NBA, they need to figure out how to make that better. The 3-point contest, I mean, Tyler Hero, champ, no big deal. But that's fun. To me, the dunk contest, I've gotten less into recently. I just think, like, that's not taking anything away from McClung, but like, you can there's only so many things the human body can do. And after 50 years of it, it's like, there's very little we haven't seen.
Exactly. A lot of the older guys got to show us the cooler things, and like that's what people are trying to base their dunks off of. Well, everyone's seen that on YouTube 50 million times.
Right. Right. Now, there are some guys out there that are like, their career is being in dunk contests, and they do some cool stuff. Yeah.
The 9-finger assassin, man.
Yeah.
And Gerald Green.
Yeah. Is that the guy with like the blue hair or the green hair or something?
No, that was he's literally, he only has 9 fingers. But
that's crazy.
He was the dude that blew out the cupcake, the candle in the dunk contest.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's pretty sweet. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. But I would love to see more of that cross, like bring in some WNBA players and I don't know, I don't know if it's like a pickup game or if it's a 3-point contest between the WNBA and the NBA, or I don't know exactly what we want to just do something to make it more exciting. Because to me, same thing with the NFL. I'm never, ever going to watch a Pro Bowl ever in my life. But I do like watching like Baker Mayfield throw at targets and stuff. You know what I mean? Like the skill part of it
games
is interesting.
Are fun.
Yeah, like the little mini games. If you're thinking like Madden, that to me is fun. And so I don't know. I just hope to see yeah, I'd love to see a little bit more, cross compatibility between the leagues during the All-Star time, because the WNBA is getting way more shooters, and it's not, it still isn't my favorite it's not my favorite league to watch, and I hope that isn't met with scrutiny, but I mean, if so, get out of here. Like, come on. But yeah, and so I mean, one last thing, the Gators, they're in the Elite Eight. They took care of business last night, looking like absolute bosses.
They took care of Angel Reese's brother, actually, from Maryland.
He was there. Hey, here's what I'll say. He played a great game, though. Like, he looks good. Like, and I'm sure, I think they said something crazy like, this year in college football, there's like 500 or 600 people in the player portal. Whereas before it was like 175 was like the most they've ever had.
There's 1,000 now.
Oh yeah, it's something insane. It's like 10 times what it's ever been.
Yeah.
And I wonder in basketball too. That is what's exciting. It's like that Maryland team, you were never, I mean, you always have a shot at making a run, and they were a 4 seed, but I feel like we're going to see players like him do exactly what she did. I mean, she started at Maryland and went to LSU, and so, you'll get to see him play in a bigger market. But I think the main thing to think about is that the Florida Gators not only are deep, they move the ball. They've been saved by the 3-pointer a few times, but they're looking strong. So I don't know that they're going to beat Duke, but it's a
tough matchup.
I'd love to see that as a championship game, but we'll see. On to the next round, but it's been very exciting. I feel like I have not been this excited for a Gators basketball team probably since like the Joakim Noah, Al Horford days. That's like 2008, I think, is when they.
I was gonna say that was a long time ago.
I mean, one of the only teams to ever go back to back in college basketball. Yep. So I mean,
that's pretty sweet.
But yeah, so I don't know. Fun stuff in sports happening. Obviously, we have draft coming up. We can start looking at, who are free agents going to be in the NBA in the offseason, start looking towards, there are no Olympics this year. So, I mean, I don't know in the summer what we're going to do, but we'll figure out something.
Oh, yeah, we got it.
Cool. All right, man. Well, enjoy the rest of your week, and I will talk to you soon.
Thanks, man. You too. Talk to you later.
All right, man. Peace.
Peace.